Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. This is Ro and this is the Stone Genius, and I have someone texting me. Oh my heck. Yeah, that'll be fine then. Hey, welcome to the show. So this show was supposed to be recorded last night with one of our favorite guests of all time. I would have to say our favorite guest. Because the number of times that they have been on and the amount of time I've spent conversing with them would seem to indicate that. So Catherine came over last night. So it was a sort of last second thing. Catherine Owens. So some of you may know her from her real estate career. Some of you may know her from her Irish dancing career. Some of you may know her from her tennis career. Some of you may just know her from the show. I don't know. But Catherine, it was a late kind of, can you come over to do this? I have been hesitant to have people here because of our freakish dog with her surgery. She needs to be in a calm state. She can't jump around. She tends to forget she just got a metal plate put in her leg, which is good most of the time, but not all the time. So anyway, Catherine showed up. We were going to record the show, and generally, whoever I'm talking to, we'll talk ahead of time and just, And so I had not seen, it had been so long. So the last time I saw Catherine, which, man, it seems weird. So the last time Catherine was on the show and recorded, literally right after she left, maybe 10 minutes, we got the call that my dad had passed away. And then today is the day that we are having the service for him. He was cremated, so we haven't done the Weekend at Bernie's thing. I did suggest it. No one wanted to carry him around, though. He would have just sat in his chair. That would have been his Weekend at Bernie's. So today is so it had been 6 weeks. So my dad had passed, I had surgery, and we had communicated a little, and she has been super busy. I get it. I am not the most important person in Dakota. I am her most important person. So I get it. I understand it. However, it was funny, humorous, ironic, whatever, that like last Friday or Saturday, Bobby asked me, did you do something to Catherine? I go, what do you mean? She goes, well, we haven't heard from her. I go, I know. And I go, I'm sure I was making up excuses. I mean, I was simmering just below the surface. Remember, she was the one that made me come up with the term co-ghosted when I asked her to be my co-host and then I didn't hear from her. So this seems to be an emerging pattern with her. It's a good thing that we like her. Otherwise, I would be like, text me back. So anyway, Catherine comes over. So we start talking, sit down. So we're talking. Bobby's not here. Bobby wasn't going to be home till 9 o'clock, and this was like 7:30 in the evening. So Catherine and I started talking. Next thing we know, Bobby's home. So then I was thinking, oh, well, we could do, Bobby will be out of town this weekend. So my thought originally was I do a show with Catherine. If Catherine is, down on staying till 10 or 10:30, then we could do another show where we just talk, and then Bobby, and that way we have the show with Bobby for the weekend. And then technically she would get 2 additional appearances on the show. Instead of 1, she would get 2. And now she got none. Because obviously I'm doing all the talking. There's nothing with her. So we sat on the couch and we just started talking. And then Bobby showed up. And then we ended up talking for another hour and a half. So she was here for 3 hours and we never hit the record button. Which is that should be the title of my porn autobiography. Forgot to hit the record button. I thought that was pretty good. And then it's just a blank tape. Which honestly would be better than 365 days or whatever it's called, 365 days. I know I did whatever. That's still not a porn. Now, the second one is more porny than the first one just because they actually had sex like very early on, like in the movie. I swear that the first one, and Bobby and I tried to watch it. I mean, if there's nudity, we'll watch it. But we'd watch like 10 minutes. We'd be like, there's no nudity. And we'd switch and go to something else. And I think it took us like 4 or 5 times before we finally, it was like 40 minutes in before there was really something where I was like, oh, well, I could see where people may think this is over-sexualized. This scene. But I didn't. Yeah. Anywho, anyhow, anyway, Bobby with Catherine has been very nice. I always say this. Everyone knows it. The studio is also my living room, which fairly soon we'll have a studio. One of our bedrooms, the spare bedroom, will become the studio once I get this cast off, which comes today. I mean, she almost made it. I've had been banged up and in something for 6 weeks, and she made it within 1 day of me going that whole time, and me going from no cast to no cast, and she would have never known about the cast without pictures and the atrophy of my hand and thumb. I mean, the good thing is the atrophy in my thumb. Now that I think about it, if I need to hitchhike, I could probably use that, and people would be like, "Oh, look, that poor guy! Look at his gimpy little thumb there." But it was bigger than it should have been, which is why we had the surgery in the first place. Anywho, anyhow, anyway, it was funny with Catherine over. Love having her, love talking to her, catching up. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that again with her sometime and hit the record button. We are trying to get her in. If you listen to the tennis show, which is one of the most popular episodes that we've had, and also the longest by a long shot. Longest, like 2.5 hour long episode. One of the most popular episodes, but I am trying to get Catherine and her teammates and tennis compadres to be on the show. I think I've seen some video of them in a more relaxed vacation. It was still a tennis vacation atmosphere, and they look like a very lively bunch. So Catherine came over to do the show. We never got around to the show. And lately, so Bobby thought I had done something, and that's why Catherine wouldn't talk to us anymore. Because Bobby thinks Catherine's cool. I think Catherine's cool. Evidently, a lot of people think Catherine's cool. Blah, blah, blah. So anywho, anyhow, anyway, Bobby had asked, and then literally 2 days later, we're at the Royals game, and I missed a phone call from Catherine. I was like, oh, that's weird. So we ended up last night. Now, I have said, you can see on our Instagram account, there are pictures of Catherine when she's been on the show before, and from her Irish dancing days as well. She's an attractive woman, and I've always said it doesn't matter what parallel universe. There's no parallel universe that someone wouldn't that she wouldn't be attractive on whatever objective, subjective, whatever scale. So I have thanked Bobby for allowing Catherine to come here when she's not here, because we'll drink together, or I will smoke. So it's not like we are out in that she's saying, hey, my husband can go out with this, be with this other one. See, now I'm saying go out and be with it. It makes it sound like biblical or something, but it's not. Just, cohabitate the same space. See, that doesn't even sound right. Whatever I'm trying to say here, being okay with the fact that we're together, and then there's alcohol involved. I have been very cognizant of Bobby's, how grateful I am to Bobby and her trust that she has in me. That being said, I had changed my behavior, and Bobby called me on it. So generally, I will pregame my recording sessions with dancing. So I will put headphones on, I'll have music going, I will do something, and I will spend sometimes... So last night, I spent 2 hours pregame dancing. Dancing, smoking, smoking, dancing. Smoke, smoke, dance, dance. Like puff, puff, pass, it was smoke, smoke, dance. So I mean, that's what I do. Now, the music that I listen to, if you're a longtime listener of the show, you will know that many of the songs that I listen to reference sexual acts among participants. And so I didn't think it was appropriate, like when she would get here, generally I wouldn't, like when it's Bobby, I don't give a shit or whatever. And I have my music on in the background. And honestly, if it was a guy that came over to do an interview, the Crane Organic guys or John Hubbard, whoever comes up, it wouldn't be. So here's my thing. I'm treating guys differently than, so that's where Bobby thought there was some guilt. Because she, not like real guilt, but she was calling me out on it because I was thanking her for, hey, thanks for allowing Catherine to come over and do the show, even when you're not here, and blah, 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 and all this. And so when we were discussing that, she goes, it's kind of weird, though, because you mentioned that you won't listen to your music there. She goes, so I think that's weird. So I've kind of tiptoed. Like when a softball's been thrown, something has been said that I could just knock out of the park. I had to look at the dog. There she goes for it. Psst. I looked at her. She sat up and then she put her head, she rested it on her back leg and then side-eyed me and then licked her leg. And now she's making sounds at me, grumbling at me. Anyway, I had changed my behavior because I was cognizant. Bobby thinks you know who Emma is from Selling Sunset, the Netflix series? Bobby thinks that Catherine is her identical twin. And I have seen some pictures where I would say, well, I could see totally how they're related. I wouldn't say identical twin. Bobby swears identical twin. I showed it to Catherine. Catherine, I think, agrees with me that there's a similarity. But anyway, like Emma, like, so I was just kind of caught off guard. I'm like, so because I think that's amazing that she will allow that to happen. Because in the back of your mind, you would have to be, like if something happened, nothing would happen. If something happened between Catherine and I, then someone would say to Bobby, well, like, didn't you think, I mean, they would probably be like, and you were okay with this up to that? I mean, so it would be like a more, so like if Bobby is very enamored with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, so if Bobby for our show had Dwayne Johnson come over and they were having mimosas, because I know that Bobby loves mimosas and I can picture Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson drinking mimosas. So they drink their mimosas, and if I came home and something had happened between them, I would have to be like, well, I mean, I couldn't be like, oh, I never in a million years thought that he could fall into my wife and then his penis thrust into her over and over again. So one of the comments that I made to Bobby was Bobby was working her part-time job in the evening last night, and she had texted something, and I don't even remember the original text of how it got to this, because we have a lot of texts, and a lot of them go sideways, and a lot of them go sideways very quickly. I was just trying to read it so I knew exactly what it was. Because Bobby said that my change in behavior, that worried her. That then it felt, because generally the thing that she likes about me when I say something, like if I say something about Catherine being attractive, she knows that there's a disassociation there with me, that someone can be attracted and not be attracted to them at the same time. So she's fine with that. So when I was like, oh, well, I don't want to listen to those songs in front of her while she's here or something, Bobby had a problem. So I sent her a text and I just said, hey, Catherine will probably be here when you get home. We'll probably be clothed. So I said, Catherine will probably be here when you get home. We'll probably be clothed. Bobby responded, I hope so. And so I go, being there or clothed. And Bobby knew, she goes, I knew you were going to ask that. So see, that would be the more typical interaction. So that, I think, is what she's more comfortable with. But then today, this morning, we're in the kitchen, early morning. Bobby's getting ready for work. And so I told Bobby, I go, thanks for sex last night. And she goes, thank you for sex. And she goes, and thanks for not having sex with Catherine. So Bobby's standing to my right, and I don't say a word. I just side-eye Bobby. And she laughed, because I think at this point now she was more comfortable with me not joking about it. But it was, and she knows, but it was just funny, because she was the one that brought this up and said, you know, it seems weird that you're not comfortable joking about her. And then when I joke about her, let's just say that when I did side-eye her, I originally looked to make sure that she was not preparing some morning food with a knife or some sharp utensil that could be used to stab or otherwise maim me. So I was at least that aware when I did that. So that's why I love Bobby so much, because she is so amazing. Because a lot of people, it's funny, because we talked about this last night, because I go, well, thanks for not being jealous. And she goes, well, I am jealous. But that's the weird thing, is that she might be jealous, but she does not show that. And that goes with everything. I've always said, like, if someone says, I'm not a racist, but they act racist, it's like, hello. And so when Bobby says that she is jealous, but she doesn't act like that at all. I don't think, and maybe she says stuff to her friends when I'm not around. It's like, that dick, I can't believe he keeps asking to have that girl over to the house when I'm not there. But I'm always very upfront and open with both Catherine and Bobby. I'll be like, hey, I asked Catherine to come over. She's available on a night that you're not going to be here. Catherine, hey, I'm glad you're available that night, just so that you know Bobby won't be there. Bobby won't be home this weekend, or Bobby won't be home the day that we're... So, and so that they're aware. Because then everyone's like, okay, there's nothing like... I always go back to the first time that Catherine showed up, I think right as she knocked on the door, Bobby goes, she does know you have a wife, right? Which was just always funny. So anyway, it was amazing to catch up with Catherine. I wish we could have recorded something. I think the fact that we didn't record something together will allow me to use that as leverage. Because once again, I am not opposed to manipulating people. So I would use that as leverage. Say, hey, remember when we were supposed to do a show and then you just came over and you just yapped and then we never did the show? Make it sound like it was her fault that we never got around to doing the show. If I could do that, I believe that I can get her back sooner rather than later. And at this point, on Thursday night, which will be tomorrow night, so hopefully we'll have it out Friday, I'm going to have Cam on, we're going to talk about height. Cam is one of the few people that I look up to. I'm talking physically look up to. So we'll have a chat about that. Height. How we get discriminated against. Yeah. Think about it. There's a lot of things that short people don't understand that tall people have to go through. Big people. And I'm not just talking, I'm talking about big, like just in size and stature, not like, because I was about to say, being so big that you can't get like what 98% of the world could put their hand in a jar and pull something out of, that your hands are too big to do that. I'm talking that type of stuff. Or they don't think about the manual dexterity that little tiny fingers can grab stuff and do things that big fingers can't do. And it's only gotten worse for me with all my surgeries on my hands. So we have a ton of stuff coming up. Hopefully I'll get Catherine on the show and actually record. I do hope, it'll be so fun if we have, I do believe it will be fun if we have the group, her tennis group on. I think there'll be some stories. I'm not saying that it's going to be like a Real Housewives of Kansas City type thing going on, but I'm not saying it's not going to be like that. I'm going to say it. We'll just have to see. I'm excited about that potential opportunity. I don't want to be too excited in case it doesn't come to fruition. But who doesn't want to be on a podcast these days? Me the last few weeks, have you been paying attention? Just kidding. I've wanted to do a podcast. Like I said on my mental health yesterday, however I am digesting, processing my dad's passing, my surgery, our dog surgery, just a lot of things going on. This will be the first summer that we have not had a child in the house at all. Hold on. Yeah, that definitely. So Trinity will be staying in Chicago year-round going forward, which Morgan did the same thing in North Carolina when she was at State. So, but when she was gone, we always had Trinity. And then the last few summers, we got into empty nesters. The first year was weird, COVID, so we were kind of empty nesters, but then the house got filled up like in February again. So we were empty nesters for a very, very short period of time. Much shorter than what we would have liked. So then, after that, so then Morgan came back, and we had Mo and Trinity in the house, which was, we did not have enough rooms to accommodate. We had moved into an apartment a few years ago when we were moving from the country to not the country, and then we've been here since. We always knew that both children could be back home at a time, but we always were just like, well, if it happens, we'd always just said, well, if it does happen, they can just share a room. And then we would reference Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, like whatever the kids name, Charlie, that makes sense, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So Charlie, we always reference Charlie's living situation. Like that was an okay living situation. Like, well, if they both are living in one room, it'll just be like Charlie's house. Like that was okay. Like we had deemed, like Bobby and I had made the conscious decision that if her parents and my parents needed to come and live at our house and just stay in a bed in the living room, the four of them, that they could do that. That's what it sounded like. So then we go back to being empty nesters. So we still have a cock block issue. Morgan's here in town. She's very good about identifying when she's going to show up. so that there is no surprised me walking around the house naked. I mean, that's not a surprise for me or Bobby, but that would be a surprise. So, and they're aware of that. That's why they let everyone know that they're on their way. So it's been nice being empty nesters, but it is also nice knowing even last year, or I guess this is it, man. I'm trying to think. Last year was 2021. So they were home. I think they came home at spring break and stayed the rest of the year. So yeah, so this will be the first year that we don't have any kids here through the summer. So we were trying to figure out our summer too, travel and stuff. So the cool thing about Trinity, and I'm excited about this, is Trinity is a huge Machine Gun Kelly fan. I am a Machine Gun Kelly friend. I mean, I don't know a fan. I don't know enough of Machine Gun Kelly's catalog currently to say that I'd be a fan, because you could probably play 90+% of their catalog, even their known popular catalog, and I still may not know who it is. But the super popular songs I do like and enjoy. So I would be hard pressed to think that I wouldn't like or enjoy or appreciate the rest of Machine Gun Kelly's catalog. So anyway, today I asked Trinity, I go, do you want to go to, or yesterday we started this conversation. I asked them, and I apologize. I know that I have been butchering Trinity's pronoun. It is they, them. So I am trying to do my best. So Trinity, if you're listening, I apologize. But I reached out to Trinity last night. I go, let's go to a Machine Gun Kelly concert. I could have looked up and done some research first, like where, when, what would make sense. Like, are they going to be in Kansas City? Have they been in Kansas City? And Trinity shot back. They said, yeah, how about Indianapolis? And I go, well, how far is Indianapolis from Chicago? And they said like 2 to 3 hours. I was like, oh. And I'm like thinking, so then I was like, well, why aren't they playing in Chicago, which they are in July, like just a few days after Machine Gun Kelly's here in Kansas City? And maybe Trinity's are already going to that. I'm not sure. I didn't ask. But so I looked, and there's that in Chicago. And then even before that, there's here in Kansas City. I go, well, maybe it's sold out. Maybe that's why Trinity didn't say, hey, look at Kansas City. And I looked, and I could still get floor tickets, like first row floor tickets, still get platinum tickets. And then I got fourth row side. And so I go, can you come home? It's on a Friday. And they were like, I'll ask off today. Because first of all, they're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I can't think of any more fun. I never went to a concert with my dad. I don't go to a lot of concerts. I never have. But almost, and maybe that's why I can remember them. But I can remember bits and pieces of every single concert. And I can't say that with everything. Like every play that I've seen, I can't tell you bits and pieces of every play that I've seen. Because I would omit some, and I wouldn't even be aware that I'm omitting some. Anyhow. Anyway. So Trinity will be here. I did buy the tickets, fourth row. Now, I knew where I could be monetarily, because I did ask, Bobby and Mo Morgan are going to see Morgan Wallen in Wichita, which is about a 3-hour drive. Ironically, how far Trinity wanted to drive to see him GK. So I just asked Bobby, what did you all pay for the tickets for that? Because I like Morgan Wallen. I would have gone to that concert too. And so I don't have a problem. I was just like, I wanted a barometer so that if Morgan and Mo were doing that I would feel okay spend, because honestly, when I look at ticket prices, there is no one currently that I would pay to see. That being said, this morning I paid to see someone, Machine Gun Kelly. So I obviously think, and it's actually less about seeing Machine Gun Kelly than it is about spending the evening with Trinity, doing something, seeing something that is going to make them smile. So anyway, fourth row. I'm excited. This will be weird too, because this will be the first out of age group, out of, I don't know what you'd want to call it. I probably will not look like the typical MGK fan. I might, but I don't think I will. I will definitely wear fingernail polish. I'll have Trinity to do my fingers before I go to the concert. I did ask Bobby, I go, do you care if I start wearing fingernail polish? And she said, as long as you dress the part. She goes, you can't do fingernail polish and go back to wearing suits. And I go, can't I? And she goes, well, you could, but if you do your fingernails, it would probably be more. But that's one of those things. Just being a devil's advocate, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but when I ask this type of question, it'd be like, why is it okay that I wear fingernail polish when I wear this clothes, but if I wear these clothes, now it's not okay? It's called the Socratic method. It's when you ask questions enough that people are like, oh, right. Basically, that's a high-level overview of what the Socratic method is, but that's basically it. So anyway, I am super duper excited about being able to go to that concert with Trinity. They'll get to come home for a couple days. They'll get to see Dakota, because I have made fun in the past of Trinity and the way she reacts when she sees our dog. Because you would think that that it had been forever. I mean, it would be like a couple of months, and they would see Dakota, and they would bawl. And I am not throwing them under the bus by saying that, because I feel like doing that all the time about this stinking dog now. That's the thing about me, because the dog's never gotten that big, even though they're considered a medium-large 70-pound dog. They're still small. And when they're sleeping, like when I look at her right now, she is so adorable. And she's such a prish. She heard me say that, and she like stretched out and preened her head back. Like, yeah, that's right. But I've been like that. So Trinity will need to see Dakota anyway. Especially Dakota, by that, it'll be a couple months in, 3 months in, 2 months in. So I will be less concerned about Dakota's reaction, jumping around, and all that fun stuff. What do we got coming up on the show? I'm hoping to do a show with Bobby before she goes out of town. This weekend, I am staying and not going to my in-laws. I will miss seeing my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, niece, and nephew. But the interaction that I would have with them if everyone's there would be so low that when I could stay here, go to the pool, because even though it's poopy today, I'm almost positive I haven't cussed yet. So I need to cuss. It's shitty here today and yesterday, like cold shitty, like 60 degrees, like 10, 15, 20 degrees below normal. Shitty and rainy and everything. This Friday, Saturday, Sunday supposed to be mid 80s and sunny. And I am not dark in any way, shape, or form. I am so vain, and I'm not afraid to say this. Bobby and I had this conversation this morning because I believe that Catherine didn't call me, said I reminded her of a narcissist boss she used to have, which is pretty much calling me a narcissist. When you say you remind them of a narcissist, because you wouldn't say, you remind me of this racist person I know if you weren't implying that that person was racist. So I know that she said she didn't outrightly say you're a narcissist, but I'm okay with that. Because here's the thing about narcissists, that when they looked at their reflection in the water and fell in love with themselves, it was because they were so beautiful. It's not like it was an ugly person. Like, see, the person that when I think of narcissists, and there could be behavior traits that I or others demonstrate that also may fall into the narcissist category. But I think more of a narcissist is when they think that they are better than others. And I know I'm going to stop you right here because you're like, hold on, what the fuck did you just say? When people think they're better than others when they're not. See, you didn't let me finish. See, I am better than others. Other people aren't. And people will say that all the time. They'll be like, well, why do you think my mom will say, why do you think you're better than others? I'm like, well, I'm 6'5". It's like, well, why does that make you better than others? I go, you have called me and asked me to come to your house to get something off a shelf because you couldn't reach it. So right there, that indicates that I am better. No one has ever said, except for me, and we'll talk about this with Cam about height. Growing up, excuse me, a lot of people would say, oh, do you play basketball? Because of my height. And because I'm a smart ass and don't give a shit, I would generally go, yeah, do you play miniature golf? And they would get mad. Not all of them. Some of them would be mad. It's like, oh, you didn't, that's rude. How was that rude? Because short has a negative connotation, tall has a positive connotation. But we're going to talk about when you get too tall. Like, I am on the border of too tall. 6'6" is too tall. 6'5" is probably too tall. 6'4", which the way I'm going, as you get older, I believe my 6'5" will be 6'4". So I think that my height will be more accommodating to my surroundings in the future. But like 6'10" is your trouble sitting at tables, sleeping in beds, being in cars. So there are certain things when you're so anatomically different than others. So our children growing up, Morgan, I used to love taking her to the mall to shop for shoes. Morgan wore a size 12 women's. So when you would walk into a place that would have a wall full of shoes, say 100 shoes, we would be able to walk in and go, what do you have in a size 12 women's? Or available in a 12 women's? And they may point to 3. So the good thing is you don't have to go, oh, well, I have 100 shoes I need to choose between. Which ones do I like the best? Well, all this stuff. You now have 3 that you have to choose from. Or a lot of times it'd be like, we don't have that. So it'd just be like, next door. I remember we went to the River Market here in Kansas City, and I don't know if they still do. It's been a couple years, pre-pandemic, but they would rent out spaces in the common area where you could basically do like a garage sale. You would rent your spot and you would come and set up and you would sell your goods or whatever. And a lot of them were personalized. Some were actual probably business entities selling jewelry and caricatures or whatever, but a lot of them would be things that you might see in a yard sale. And maybe these people lived in an apartment, they didn't have it. So we walked by, and I remember that there was a girl there, and she was tall, and she had stuff out. And I go, we should go look, or one of us, it probably wasn't me. One of us said, we should go look at, because they're tall, we should see if they had anything. I think we bought 4 pairs of tennis shoes from that person. That was probably the biggest haul at one time of shoes that we had ever gotten, at least to that point. I'm sure that has changed since. But we will talk about the difficulties of And I'm sure there are difficulties being short. Like I say, I think I'm the perfect height. When people go, why do you think you're smarter than people? It's like, because I'm a member of a high IQ society. And I have been for many, many years. I mean, and you have to take a test to get in there. And you can discount IQ and its importance. And it's less about the number. But once you hit a number, sorry about that. Once you hit a number, it changes your way of thinking. Not like, oh, I got to you just have a number. And it's just how you process information. But the easiest way to say that is IQ. Like if I go, well, the way I process information, well, what do you mean? Well, I have a genius level IQ. That's what I mean. If I just say that, it jumps you up. I always say that geniuses start at 5 when everyone else starts at 1. So it jumps you up to 5. So now you're up to speed. So it'll be interesting. We're going to have a lot of great talks. I have so many pages of notes of stuff that I didn't get to on shows so that we do have enough. Hopefully Catherine will be back on. Cam's going to be on. I will probably try to get Trinity to be on. Trinity hasn't been on in a while, so we need to catch up and see what Hot Girl Summer is going to be like. So, Trinity and I both have a fondness for Megan Thee Stallion. Both big fans of Megan Thee Stallion. So, maybe I'll have Trinity on and we will talk about Megan Thee Stallion. That's what we need to do. That's one thing that I was thinking. So, now, this is why I don't want to do video. Because I watch many YouTube videos, and the presentation of the host or co-hosts rubs me the wrong way so much that I don't want to rub someone. I don't think about people talking about me, but I just think I think that it would be more difficult for me to not go back and watch. Like, often I do not listen to the podcast. I always joke, I did the podcast. Why do I need to listen to them? I usually know, I have a feeling whether the product that I put out that day was good, whether it was better than the day before, whether I anticipate tomorrow being better. I know a lot of that. And that's because it's an audio only. Now, I will tell you, I am so fucking vain that if I'm on video, I'm almost positive. I can say this with almost absolute certainty. Because I know that I would try to say I would not go and watch the video just to look at myself. But I probably would. And once again, you can think of me however you want. You can call me a narcissist. You can say that I remind you of a boss who used to be a narcissist. I'm okay with that. I mean, it's the same thing. When people are like, well, why do you like to say, I'm glad you all are listening to the show. We're going to have fun. This is going to be a fun ride. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming up. This should be fun. We will have video at some point. One of my other things is being a trained, award-winning photographer. I have difficulty with camera angles sometimes. And one thing that I don't like is the one-shot, multi-person shot. That I like when it's just one shot. So I've been watching the Fresh and Fix videos, video cast on YouTube. But that's the one thing that has allowed me to think that I can go ahead and move forward. because they generally will shoot from a head-on where you see the co-host, one to the left, one to the right, and then girls horseshoe around this table. People horseshoe around this table, basically. It's like a big U. And most of it is in one shot, so you can see everyone. They do some basic cuts to people, but that is, I notice that more like in introductions when they know this person's going to be talking for a little bit, so we can focus on this person for just a moment or two. When it's just a conversation or they're talking to the table as the group or someone from the group is talking to everyone, it's always that wide angle shot. I'm not a fan of that, but it seems to work, and that's what takes us to get video. Because especially if I can get Catherine on the show and Bobby on the show and all these people that are very beautiful, that will help. I always tell Bobby that so I always joke with her, if you're nipping out, it's 10,000 likes. And she goes, oh, for a girl? And I go, no, it should be for a guy too. Just so you know, it's not. One of the things I have a problem with on the fresh and fit thing, the guys will complain to the girls on there, they're looking for a man, that if they're in a relationship, these guys deem it cheating if they have an Instagram account. If they have an Instagram account, they deem it's cheating if they're in a relationship, not for a guy. I don't agree with that. Now, part of their misguided information they're basing this on is the fact that an average-looking girl can probably, with a decent body, can probably get multiple thousands of likes with no problem. And if you have big tits and you're nipping out, you could be a troll and you're getting 10,000 likes. I joke with that with Bobby, but I honestly believe that. And it doesn't matter who you are as a guy. It almost does not matter who you are as a guy. No matter how good the picture is, how good looking you are, no matter what the content is, how it's been tagged, if you get 1,000 likes for anything, that would be amazing. And generally, it's in the hundreds. Like, I would almost guarantee that if you put out, like if there's a picture of a male and a female, both of them, let's say their level of hotness is equal to each other, however that would be judged. And the picture goes out and the male puts it on their Instagram feed and the female puts it on theirs, the female will probably get more likes, even though it's the same picture and the same content. And I'm not even talking about just because they may have more followers. So I can understand where they're saying, well, women get a lot more attention on Instagram than guys do. But just like Bobby, at some point in a relationship, because I would tell these guys, well, you're just insecure. At some point in a relationship, you just have to be, okay, they're not going to cheat. And if they do, we'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. And I mean that just saying that depending on it was a one-night stand fling. I met The Rock. He came into our dental office, needed some work done, so I gave him the work. Hey-o. Or maybe the sound that she gave him was. And then afterwards he was like, I'm just kidding. And I'd be like, so are you going to see him again? Did you have feelings? No, it's just The Rock was here, they were hot, and I had sex with him. I'd be like, okay, I guess we can get past that. You are going to wash your vagina. And the only reason I ask that is not to be gross, but I will say that when Bobby came home from a Tim McGraw concert where she had front row tickets and he touched her, she did say that she wasn't going to wash that hand for a few days. Now, I do not recall whether she did or did not go a few days between washings, but she did make that comment. So me to make that comment is not that big a deal. This has been a fun show. I'm glad that I'm putting this out on Hump Day. And we will. I'm going to throw this on to the end. Because Bobby probably, just like sex, she probably won't make it to the end. Actually, she probably will. So we came up with our number. And I don't think we came up with a number, because I think when she started doing the math in her head, which I, as opposed to almost everyone on the face of the planet, can do math in my head, even some fairly intricate problems. And she can ballpark it. She can be doing estimations, well, this, and so multiply this, and probably this, and do some estimations and things like that. But coming out to an exact number, because we're talking about body count, and we're talking about how, on a previous show, how you can't really have that conversation after someone you've already allowed them, or you have raw dog someone. It's just not, like, as a guy, I wouldn't have had unprotected sex with Bobby and then after that fact been concerned. Like gone, oh, you've been with 100 people? Whew, good thing we only did it once. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the inner workings of a vagina, but I don't think that it is a repository for previous interactions with male genitalia. I'm not 100% sure in that, because I am not a scientist at all. But when we're doing it, so I thought, because I was talking about this, because we've talked about this with Mo, our oldest, and Mo is going through a body count phase right now, or notches on the headboard. She just wants to have sex. Bobby, it's more difficult for her to wrap her head around that. She's like, hey, Morgan's her own girl. But Bobby, for someone, that's not for Bobby, but for me. So if you didn't listen to the show before, the question that I had with Bobby, because she wanted to go, what is your real body count? Because we had already had sex. I'm pretty sure that she was already pregnant, and we were aware that she was pregnant when she asked me body count number. And I think I said less than 10. Because at that point, I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. It didn't, we had already had sex at this point. So it wasn't like, oh, we're getting ready to do this, or your dick looks weird, we should talk about this. It wasn't. So I think I said less than 10, because I just didn't want, when you know you're someone's second, double digits is probably going to be a hard pill for them to swallow. And it could be the only thing that's difficult to swallow. Just kidding. Anyway. So we started talking about this, and so I asked Bobby, I go, do you think, because then with Morgan, I had told her, so I told Trinity, she asked what my body count was, and I gave her a number. And it was, I told her, I gave her a huge range. I go 25 to 50. And I was also doing that because Trinity sometimes will take information, just like I do, to use it against someone. Trinity is still in that learning phase of when to use that information and when to hold it. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Nope. Know when to hold them, know when to show them. That would be it. And then when we were talking about with Morgan, I had said, well, it's quite a bit higher than that as well. And so then Bobby wanted to know. Or I don't know if Bobby wanted to know, but it was discussed. And so because I didn't want to give a number. If I gave a number, people would be like, what the? No way. Who are you, Wilt Champ? Whatever. So I asked Bobby, I go, well, let's figure this out and we'll use your math. And so I said, how many times, so I asked the question first, do you think I had more sex when I was single, frequency, than, or less sex frequency than what you and I have now? She said more. I would not disagree. I would say that it was at least the same amount of times, if not more. But I said, okay, let's just use the same amount of times. What is our average per week of having sex, being intimate? She goes, 3 times a week. Which I feel bad because on church last week, they said that people our age and been married this long should be doing it once a week. And I did not need her to hear that. So we did 3 times a week. There's 52 weeks in a year. That's 156 times of sexual intercourse annually. Not annually. Not annually. Not anally. Annually. Now I've screwed myself up. So that's 156 times. And I said, how... Oh, the next question I go, do you think that I went back to the well? I go, what percentage of the girls do you think that I only had sex with them once? Not a one-night stand. Because to me, a one-night stand is you meet someone that you didn't know, you had sex with them. Dakota Mae Johnson. Yeah, To me, a one-night stand would be you met, like I always joke that Bobby and I were a one-night stand because I didn't know her. I met her like at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and she went home with me that night. Because if it would have stopped then, my interactions were more, hey, what are you doing Friday night? You want to have sex? So anyway. So the number we came up with, so she said 50%. So she said 50% of the people, 50% of the times that I had sex, it was like a one and done. I had sex with one person, I was done. And so what I explained to her is, so I go, if it's 50%, so that means that take half the total, and those would be single individuals. And then so the minimum number would be that plus 1, meaning that whatever that number is halved, then it would be, the plus 1 would be like the other half I could have just been with one person. I could have been with more, but it was multiple times. And so she understood that. So I didn't get sexually active until I was 20. And we met when I was 28. Now, I put down 7 full years, but it could have been 8. And technically, it could have been, 8. Could have been 8. I put 7. So you take 7 times 156. And that's 1,092 times. And so Bobby's number she gave me was half of them. I only did it with that person once. So half of that would be 546. And then you plus 1 because the other 546 times you could have had with one person. So that would have put my body count number at 547. And that was Bobby's math. And it's amazing how she is with me. I am amazed with her every day. I mean, I hope that the only way that I can say that she treats me like she does and has the faith in me that she does is because of how I've been. That over the years I have demonstrated a behavior that would result in her having the trust of people come over. And as I talk this out, as we're getting ready to finish this, because I have 40 seconds to get this under the 1 hour mark, I hope everyone has that or finds that. Having that, whether it's a spouse, no matter what it is, having someone that has so much faith and love for you that there's never a doubt. And on that note, everyone that made it to an hour mark, thank you so much. It's been a while since I've done an hour-long show, and so I appreciate it. Thank you all. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.